that they could fill them out so that you would have at least something before you. And so I would ask the chair to ask the representative of the applicant, he's under oath, ask him the name of the property owner and whether or not he has authority to represent the property owner. If he answers yes to those questions, then I have no problem with y'all proceeding.
Okay, do we have a problem delaying his presentation?
I just want you to ask those questions and him to answer them, and then we can move forward however we want.
Okay, can you,
My name is Rahi Khalifa, and I have full authority from the owner, Mr. Nizar Ali, to represent him in this meeting.
I'm comfortable with that.
okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
They don't even know what you're requesting.
Yeah, you need to,
So why don't you let them know what you're requesting, and then I can talk on behalf of the city.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
yeah, so let them know, they don't, I mean, they've read the packet, but you need to explain to them what you're requesting and why.
Well, basically based on the city ordinance and the code, this property is commercial next to commercial, and it's not specified the setback in the rear of the property. The table 10.13 stated not specified. Property like commercial next to residential is specified to be 15 feet or 10 feet, but ours 10, commercial next to commercial, so it's not specified. But we've been requested to have a 10-foot setback, but we have 5 foot due to the property shape and location, and so we're requesting to make a decision on the setback for this property and have a variance if required, or maybe not even required a variance because it's not specified per the code or the table for the setback table in the code.
Okay, so we'll let her speak.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
yes.
Let me clarify one thing. It is specified in the zoning ordinance setbacks for general commercial. It's just not specified in the area that they read. There is a table under that where the setbacks are specified. So I just want to clarify that. And setbacks in general commercial are specified at 10 foot in the zoning ordinance. Okay, that being said,
And they're, to be clear, they're requesting a 5-foot?
they're requesting a 5-foot variance.
Okay, all right. So does the, I'm just gonna help walk through it. So the board understands the setback requirement in this zoning district is 10 foot. They would like a 5-foot setback. Is that an accurate representation?
Well, not my understanding in the table, based on what I saw.
Okay, but that's a
But we
different,
can
that's a
discuss
different
that.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can get you a copy of that ordinance, or it's on the website.
Yes, ma'am, it's
Okay.
table
Talking about
10.1.
Okay, this is
The
a
back of the
reference,
building is what you're talking about on the east side?
it's the,
Yes.
mine,
It is
north,
the
south,
east.
east, and west gets mixed up.
Right here?
Yeah, right here on this backside, right here.
Okay.
Yeah. That, and I'm just speaking on what we have found out as the city, on the backside of that Fuel Max, where they're requesting the variance at, that is a 2-hour fire rated wall, which adheres to building codes to allowing a 5-foot setback. There's 3 penetrations in that wall, which are allowed by building code. Also, what they've specified in their application is that a shorter turning radius should impede traffic flow. Also, the mayor knows a little bit more about this. I know they've had to go things with TxDOT because TxDOT made them not be able to do where they wanted to go, but TxDOT said no, so they had to move back down a little bit, and that piece of property is a little shorter piece of property. And the 5-foot turning radius can be a big deal if y'all getting into gas stations and you've got a trailer or anything else like that. That turning radius can be a big deal. So anyway, that's the only thing I wanted to say on behalf of the city, and because I've been able to look at the situation, that, you know, that's just what I wanted to say, is that it all adheres to building codes, in case y'all had that question come up and I wasn't here.
Okay, so what they're proposing adheres to all building codes,
Yes, it does.
from your perspective?
Yes.
So, this would be within the regulations if they change the capacity?
It would be within the building code regulations.
Okay, is there any consideration, for the property behind this?
The property behind it is rated general commercial. That property doesn't come into question on this because it will not be crossing property lines. They will still be 5 foot onto their property line.
Okay, so I thought it was residential, but that hasn't changed.
It is not residential back there. Whenever I took a look at it, when I got back, took a look at it because the engineers thought it was R1 to general commercial, and it's not. It's GC to GC, so which got away from that 15-foot requirement, but still had the 10-foot requirement in there as per the table in the zoning ordinance.
Okay. Okay, very good.
Any other questions?
Yes,
Yeah, go ahead.
that turning radius, where are we talking about? Is that gonna interfere with the position of your fire lane
It should not.
under the International Fire Code?
It should not, because what we're doing is if it is allowed, the building is staying back, so there will be no access behind it, because there will be a sidewalk back there.
Okay,
So it'll actually help the fire lane, given the extra 10 foot, the extra 5 foot, and also for the turning radius, and also for turning radiuses, just in case the fire trucks needed to get in there.
okay, so.
There'd be
that
more room between there'd be more room in between the store and the tanks, because you'd have that extra 5 foot.
Right. So now, when you say the turning radius, of 5 foot turning radius, we're talking about in front of the store?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The curve from the street, the radius is determined by the highway department, is that correct?
They're at that street, yes, that's TXDOT.
Okay.
Yeah, 1098's TXDOT and 290's TXDOT.
And there's still a walking path for students to walk to the university without,
That I'm unaware of. That'd be a question for the mayor. Are you talking about the sidewalk?
yeah. Well, there's no sidewalk in there because we get close to the intersection and cut out the sidewalk, but it's still a walking lane.
That I don't know. Because they're not gonna be going out into 1098, so if it's already there in 1098,
And so they're not
touching
They're
1098.
not contesting that at all?
No,
just-
sir.
Just at the rear of the building?
Just at the, point of entry,
Oh,
access,
oh, when you say point of entry,
the driveway.
well, they got access at each end?
I'd have to be looking at the plans, I don't know what it shows on that one there.
I have a copy.
I don't see any access. He said he's got one right there.
Yeah.
I see one, it look like one access road.
Well, there's one over.
The bigger one.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're at 290 and further down here on 1098.
Okay. So
But
that's-
they cannot get out into 1098. TxDOT will not allow that. They can just put
They
their,
won't let them exit that way?
they'll be exiting, they won't allow them
They won't let 'em come
to
in?
build, they won't allow them to take away anything from 1098. Their approach will have to be on their property, over the right of way
Right.
and onto their property. Their approach will not impede over on 1098.
Okay, fine. Okay. Thank you, guys. Any questions?
Yeah, let me make sure, Mr. Chairman, let me make sure I'm looking at this right. So what I'm looking at is the Fuel Max gas station. It looks like there's another building to the right,
There will be a Checkers.
a check.
Does not come into play for this variance.
Okay,
Okay. They'll follow away.
The variance is for the fuel max only,
okay.
the variance request, excuse me.
So there's only 2 buildings on the side.
Just two buildings?
There's just 2 buildings. You've
Yes,
got-
ma'am.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions?
And last but not least, just to make sure I understand it from and Ms. Rogers, and probably when I hit you with questions, I'm probably gonna hit you coming from the International Fire Code. The 5 foot setback, we're looking at, you said it will not interfere with, the radius of the fire lane, which is gonna probably be like 150 feet you know, around the building or in front of the building, something like
Yeah,
that.
because there won't be anything in the back,
In the back.
because that's it. It actually should improve the fire lane
Okay,
with that extra 5 feet if allowed, because you're gonna have that 5 feet's gonna be in between the fuel island
okay.
and the store.
So the 5 feet will benefit the fire department as far as the fire lane is concerned.
Highly possible.
Okay.
Okay, we have any other questions?
Thank y'all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You want-
Yes, sir.
By the way, do you have any larger maps of this thing?
Well, I could got one, but it'd be harder to handle. That's why I got this
10
meeting.
by 17.
You wanna
9
look
by
at this
17
one?
is better than this.
You can use this one, I know the size.
So are you entering that into evidence then? We can keep that?
Yeah, you can keep it, yes.
Thank you.
Actually, I emailed it with the application.
Okay, great, thank you.
Oh, that looks much better.
Different world.
Another.
This is,
1098.
and they got an entrance coming out this side. And the exit right there.
And the exit over
Is it only an exit or?
But,
I think it's.
on the, can I ask a question?
We can go over these questions.
The exit at the north side of the site, is that only an exit or exit and an entrance?
Sorry, I can't.
Here's a question. The question is about here.
Yes, sir.
Is this an entry and exit?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's both.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And that's the same as the one on?
Yes, sir.
1098?
Yes, sir.
1098, okay.
Okay, check that approved that is an entrance and an exit.
We have TechStop permit on the drainage and on the driveways.
Okay.
So this been approved by the city engineer also. He approved the drainage and the driveways.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So the only thing that we're concerned about is the setback at the back of the building. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You see, this is 4.08 cc in the code, this property, commercial to commercial. And in the bottom of, if you go to table on 4.13,
Excuse me, Mr. Wiley, if you go back to the podium, yeah, we have that there for a reason.
yes, sir.
Keep distance between you and the judges.
Thank you.
I guess we're going to present.
Yes, so we'll let you finish your presentation.
Yes, sir. So basically, we're requiring approval on the 5-foot setback on the back. We're providing 8-foot high block wall, and we're also providing 2-hour fire rated wall on the building. So the building location been approved by the engineer, by the engineers, by the fire marshal, by the civil engineering and the building engineer of the city.
Okay, so I think you have a question.
No, no, I'm okay. I'm just confirming what he said about, you know, 8-foot wall, right? That's,
Yes, sir, 8-foot high
Yeah.
block wall.
The 8-foot wall is along behind the building?
Yeah, along the entire property line.
Okay. Just at the back of the site?
Yes, sir, in the back.
Okay.
Even though, in my opinion, it's not required, but
Yeah,
to help in the process, we will add that.
I like that.
And you're adding an additional fire rating wall to the back of your building?
Yes, sir, 2-hour fire rated wall.
Concrete block wall,
Is that what you're adding?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, our wall in the plans is fire rated 2 hours.
2 hours, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
in terms of fire at the back of the building, is there a problem with firefighters being able to fight that fire in that long line?
No problem, because we're meeting the the distance for the post distance to the back of the building from both sides of the building. The site plan been approved by the fire marshal.
Say that one more time.
We have the distance to go around the building is meeting the code, so it's not gonna be any problem reaching the back of the building.
Reaching the back of the building.
Yes, sir.
Well, we're just saying with that narrow space,
Yeah, that's fine, 5 feet, but, because you have 2-hour fire rated and it's acceptable by the code. Yes.
That wall, that 8-foot wall you're building, that's a concrete,
Yeah, yes.
concrete block.
Yes, sir, block CMU wall.
you have any other questions?
Yeah, one more question, Mr. Chair. The distance between, let me make sure I got this right, the distance between the back of the building and that block wall is the 5-foot
Yes, sir.
variance
Yes, sir.
that we're talking about.
Yes, sir.
I'm assuming that if you made that more than 5 feet, it would interfere with all these other dimensions on the other side.
So we have to move the,
Where they can- these pumps and everything would have to be in proportion.
It's gonna be very hard to move the building.
Okay, any other questions?
No, I'm good, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
I'm just looking at it from a firefighting
Well,
standpoint.
but I think that's the critical point here, so the fact that you on the committee will help us if that is a problem. Not,
I'm fine with, they got a block wall, concrete block wall, the back of the building is 2-hour fire rating. If there's anything behind there, it's probably gonna be something like some boards or something somebody threw back there accidentally, but for us to squeeze in there with hoses and stuff, we'll be able to manage.
Are there any emergency turn-off pumps or anything?
Yes, sir, that's part of the building permit approval. We
Okay.
have emergency shut off at the front of the building and one by the cashier.
Okay.
Yes, sir, and this has been, it's part of the plan,
Right.
the approval.
And both of those spots will be highly visible.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
Let me ask you something about the hydrants.
Yes, sir.
Where, how many hydrants and where are they gonna be at?
We added another hydrant right in the front of the property, right in the grass area. And this is a parking, not a fire access lane. We have another plan that shows it.
Oh, okay.
But I'm not sure if this shows it or not. It could.
But you're saying the hydrant would be,
Can I approach the bench?
yes,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine, I was just wondering how the locations
Yeah,
of
we
fire have to
added
do with the variance
one-
request.
Okay.
We need to be careful to stay on the questions that we're gonna be answering.
yes, sir.
Yeah, I believe right here, we added the fire hydrant, so right next to the property.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a couple here, and we added one more here.
Okay.
Yes.
Are there any other questions? Are we ready to?
go to deliberation.
Okay, let's go into discussion, deliberation.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to approach as a witness if I may. There are a couple of
Okay.
things I have on this that even Mr. Raleigh may not have,
All right,
if it'd be okay.
That's
okay.
right.
Please, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, board members, the project came to me roughly a couple of years ago, and the question regarding TxDOT, it took a 13, maybe 14-month process for TxDOT to approve it. One of the stipulations may be what's different to this particular piece of property than other properties. TxDOT said because it's a straight from 1098, it's a freeway entrance, and it didn't have the, the usual side way that you talked about, the turning. So that's why it had to go through a full-blown process and be signed in Austin before they were allowed to go forward. So I wanted to share with you about the difference. But so the special condition is where I'm hoping that may fall for your information at least, but I do want to just share a couple of pieces. The, Ms. Rogers hopefully covered along with Chief Bordeaux about the health, safety, welfare. The area is zoned commercial already, but the differences with what the whole TxDOT process was what made this whole situation somewhat different, because in order to accommodate the turn in and out that you spoke of on 290, that's where some of the land issue concern first came in on their side, and that may be why we wind up with the variance, because of TxDOT requiring to be pushed over to allow for the safety on 290 of the in and out that you spoke of a little earlier. The comprehensive plan, it would fall right in line with our comprehensive plan, because part of what State Representative Bell helped us with was we need a development. So that part of our comprehensive plan, along with our code of ordinances, it fits well in. The need was not self-imposed, it came from TxDOT. And I think those were just some of the things, the timeframe, and particularly the TxDOT concerns and questions and safety. And I do have one thing I want to leave with the board. I just received this, is today the 25th? I just got it.
I think so.
Okay, I can't keep up with it. This is from LJA Engineering, and this was to me on this particular piece of property, and it's from Mr. Michael Helfrich with LJA, and I'll read it into the record, then I'll give it to you. I just had it printed. It says, Mr. Mayor, we have no further comments regarding the attached revised plans. We recommend issuing permits for the civil work if the fire marshal and/or fire department has or have no issues with the fire lane turning in, which is what Chief was talking about regarding widths and number of entrances and exits, which is what you talked about, Mr. Chair. So I'll leave that with you to show the engineering on this on behalf of the city. They just actually finalized total approval. Is there any questions?
Any questions?
Yes, Mayor Allen,
Yes, sir.
did they give you a copy of the schematics for the fire portion of it?
Yes, it was included in the civil plans and those sorts of things that just got approved. But all that, we send that whole package over to LJA. They give it to us, but of course we forward it to the contracted folks to review, who have the expertise that, like you, unlike you, we don't have. We give it to them.
So, City Attorney,
Yes, sir.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So if they want us to agree with them that the fire lanes and everything like that is okay, but if I don't have the schematics or the drawings in front of me to really look at it, is that something that we can say, I need to look at it first?
You can if you want. You can postpone and then ask to see it, and we can adjourn at a later date so you can look at it. You do have the testimony of the building official, which, so it all depends on, whether or not you're comfortable with the testimony of the building official, or if you feel like you need to see the schematic to be more convinced. It's fully up to you, but it's certainly something that you could ask the board if they would be willing to delay, but in order for you to get comfortable with it.
In this case, I'm okay.
Okay.
In further cases, that's when I need to.
And I think it's going to depend on, each issue, right? I mean, some issue may not involve fire lanes at
There you
all.
go.
So,
Right, okay.
Anything else, gentlemen? Okay, thank you so much. And again, I want to thank you for just the time and volunteering to assist the city on this behalf, and I'll free you for your deliberations.
Thank you. Okay, so does everybody understand the issue that we are considering, and that is whether or not this can be 5 feet rather than 10 feet? That's the issue. The rest of this has already been approved by the city official. That's okay. Is that what you're asking for?
Yes.
5 feet?
Yes, sir.
Okay, do you have any other questions from the board before we take a vote? Okay, if somebody make a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
I would prefer that you go down the list of written findings that are required,
Yep.
that the chairman or the vice chairman or somebody read the finding, in other words, A says there are special conditions affecting lands or literal enforcement provision for the private applicant or regional use of this land. Read that, and then have a finding of yes or no on that question, and go down A through H.
I'll read it, it's on page 3.
Okay, what you got?
It's in the rules document.
Because those are the rules that you've
The
adopted.
rules document. So page 3. So it's,
Everybody see page 3?
Okay, so, let me just read the entire thing. So when authorizing a request for judicial variance, the board shall make findings as to the following. 1, or A, there are special conditions affecting the land so that the literal enforcement of the provisions of the zoning code will deprive the applicant of a reasonable use of this land. Is that a yes or no?
You want to vote on each one of these as we go down, is that right?
Yeah, y'all are gonna have to agree on,
We have to agree on all of
on
these.
each one,
Yeah.
separate, okay.
Yeah.
Do we have to rule that it's fairness decision before we go to that, or do we go into that
Well,
first? The administrative decision?
well,
my understanding-
no, this is not they're not appealing an administrative
Okay.
decision, it's a straight.
Just making sure.
Yeah, it's a straight judicial variance, good
Okay.
question. It was a little confusing at the beginning, but
Okay,
their
so we're
application
sure.
shows clearly that it's just a request for a variance.
and so, it's only one of these, but you want us to vote on each one?
Yes, it has to be all of them.
All right.
Yes.
All right, you said it has to satisfy the condition.
Yes, it has to satisfy A through H.
Okay, so we're going to let it read all of them and then vote all of them, or either vote on each one separately?
We have to do each one
I
separate.
think we should do each one separate.
Yes, that's the best way to handle
Let's
it.
take a look at A and then
That, because, and the reason for that is so that we create a record in case, and a decision is appealed, and we have that record for the court.
That's it.
okay.
So how do we vote on A?
On A, all in favor that A has been satisfied? Vote aye.
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it. Okay.
The authorization of the judicial variance will not be detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare, or injurious to the other property in the area.
Okay, all who agree say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
The conditions that create the need for the judicial variance do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
The conditions that create the need for the judicial variance are not the result of the applicant's own actions.
Okay, all in favor to approve, say aye.
Authorizing the judicial variance will not substantially conflict with the comprehensive plan and the purposes of this code.
Okay, all in favor of approval, say aye.
The need for the variance is not self-imposed.
Okay, all in favor of the statement, say aye.
The need for the variance is not purely for financial reasons.
Okay, all agree, say aye.
Because of the conditions that create the need for the judicial variance, the application of this code to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property.
Okay, all in favor of approval, say aye.
And now, just to wrap it up, a motion to approve the variance based on the findings with a second and a vote.
like to have a motion to approve the conditional variance. Say aye.
Aye.
This is the overall approval of the project.
Yes.
Yes.
Everybody who wants to vote, aye, and overall approval of the project.
Aye.
Ayes have it, it's approved. Thank you.
That's it. Done.
That's it.
Yeah, you went through training, approved some procedures, and then your first hearing, and you did it very, very well. I mean, I was very impressed with your questions and your analysis and your attention to detail on issues, so very good. I would only request that, and I don't need to be here for it, nobody needs, I don't need to be here for it, but I would request that they set a meeting sometime in the near future to approve the two applications.
The application documents, right?
Yeah, the
These two.
application.
Oh, the documents?
Right. So if they can do that sometime in the future, that would be great.
And if you all want to pick a date that's mutually good for you all, then we can let the others know. That's how we tend to do it.
And you don't have to do that on the dais, you can just
Yeah.
shoot available dates to the mayor.
Okay, or get a date to the chairman and we work with Mr. Brown.
Okay.
Sure.
So with that, I don't have anything else.
Okay, the last question, I think we wrap this up. Somebody will make a written report to get to.
Yes,
the
yes, sir. So, the city secretary and I will put together the appropriate report. What I'll probably do is I'll create a form where the written findings are answered in the affirmative, and I'll get all the documents that were presented. We'll get those to the city secretary, as well as what was emailed. Those will get to the city secretary, and then we'll get very quickly, hopefully by tomorrow, something for you to sign, and then we'll place it in the city's office, and that'll start the clock in case someone wants to appeal, which I obviously don't think is gonna happen.
I'll come back to City Hall and sign.
Yep, all right?
We filled out the permit application for the building, and we paid the permit fee also. We're just waiting for the permit. So how long will it take?
I don't know, you have to get with the mayor on that, I don't know. But it's been approved. The variance was approved by their decision right now, so that's a done deal. It's just how quickly can we get all the information to the mayor, to the office, so that the clock starts to tick.
Okay, so
All right?
tomorrow they can start construction.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you all. You all have a nice evening.
Same to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You have a great day.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.